because this past Sunday was Mother's Day. Today I thought I'd talk to y'all about roses and growing roses. You see right here, I've got a nice rose bush. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pruning, fertilizing, and a couple of insect and disease problems that you might have with your rose bush. The ideal time to prune your rose bush is really before it starts to leaf out. So once it's starting to have all this green leaves on it like it does right now, it's not really an ideal time to prune. But if we were going to prune, we want to start in the center and look for any dead or diseased, weakened shoots that we see coming out of the center and remove those. Kind of try to open up that center so that it has more of a bowl shape to it, and that's going to allow for airflow to go through. That's really going to help keep diseases and insects off of our plant. The ideal time to do that is going to be for us in maybe early April, late March is really going to be the time when you're looking to prune your rose bush. When you're fertilizing your rose bush, you want to start when the green leaves really start to flush out, that first flush of green. So we're a little bit past the first fertilizing point for this plant, but you're also going to want to fertilize as each of these flower buds opens. With each flush, you're going to want to reapply the fertilizer. That's just going to keep those flowers going, keep the plant healthy, nice and strong. You don't want to fertilize too late into the season though. Really about 6 weeks before the first frost date is when you're going to want to cut that fertilizer off. For us up here in the mountains, its average is about mid-October is our first frost date. So into September would be when you stop putting fertilizer on these rose bushes. You can buy specialty rose fertilizer pretty easy at garden centers. You can buy some slow release fertilizer as well that works really good. But you don't, if you're using something like Triple 10, you're going to want to cut back on that rate a little bit, probably less than an ounce each time. Because you don't want to over fertilize them either. Over fertilizing, you might get too much green growth, and so we're not going to have as many flowers on the plant. There's a number of different insects that like to feed on rose bushes. They eat the leaves, sometimes even eat the flowers. Japanese beetle is a big one. They can be really problematic. Aphids also can be problematic on rose bushes. To look for aphids, you're going to want to check the underside of the leaf. Most of the time, that's where you'll find aphids if you have them. They'll be on the underside of the leaf there, and you'll see tons and tons of these tiny little insects. They got 6 legs. They can be a different variety of colors, but they're real small. But you can spot them with your eye if you flip the leaves over and look for them. Caterpillars can be a problem on rose bushes sometimes. It's a little bit more infrequently, but they can be an issue. I've seen that happen. If you want to spray for insects, if we're spraying for small, soft-bodied insects like aphids, an insecticidal soap will be very effective. But you're going to have to make repeat applications of that for it to work. And there's not a lot of residual there either, so you're going to need to keep making it each time you see more aphids. But it's not going to be damaging to the plant. For Japanese beetles, Carbaryl is really the best product to use, very effective against Japanese beetles. I don't recommend using traps for Japanese beetles that have pheromone lures on them, because what that's going to do is that you're just going to be bringing in all the Japanese beetles from the surrounding 5 miles to your rose bush, to your pheromone lure. So I don't like to recommend doing that, because you're going to end up with a bigger problem than what you started with. For caterpillars, there's a lot of good BT products out there that you can use that are very effective against caterpillars and other insects that feed on the leaves as well. There are a couple of diseases that can be problematic on rose bushes. Thankfully, at this point in the season, I don't see any diseases on this rose bush, but you can start to get some black spot of rose. You'll see that on the tops of the leaves, these kind of small circular black spots on the leaves. You may also see some powdery mildew on your leaf as well. They're also circular, but these are more kind of the whitish, grayish color. You'll start to see those start popping up on the leaves. You may also see some rust. These are going to be kind of more of an orangey, reddish color. You'll see those spots popping up as well. And really a combination of using something like chlorothalonil and mancozeb. That's a good combination of fungicides to use to keep your plants disease free. Rosette rose disease is another disease that can be problematic on rose bushes. I have seen it a few times up here. So we definitely have it, which you'll start to see when you have rosette rose disease. It's a viral disease, and you'll start to see tons of tiny little thorns appearing. It's kind of at the end of the branches, tons of tiny little leaves starting to pop out. And it looks kind of alien almost on there. It's called witch's broom is what that's called. And it's a viral disease transmitted by mites. So there's not a good way to get rid of it if you have it on your rose bush. The best thing you can do is to remove the rose bush, dispose of it, burn it, just remove it. It can't, and if you walk around the woods, sometimes you may see some wild roses growing out there, and those are oftentimes vectors for that disease to move into these rose bushes that you may have planted around your house. Thank you for watching today. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And if you have any questions about roses or growing a rose bush, please let me know. I'm happy to help.